Storytime Redeem. You want to know how Siri and I met. So, the story between Siri and I is really not the most elaborate thing, honestly. It's actually surprisingly simplistic in the long run. We first met through a D&D game I was running. Essentially, Siri was in a rough part of her life. I'm not going to go into too many details about that. That's not my story to tell. But she was in a rough patch. And she was encouraged to get out and get to know people. So she did this by joining up with various tabletop gaming groups, one of which happened to be mine. I had started a 4th edition D&D campaign about a year or two prior to meeting her, and we had been a fairly small group just running around, just like 3 or 4 people. But then Siri joined up. She shot me an email. And, it's like, can I join your game? Are you still looking for people? So, we're always open for people. We haven't hit our maximum at the table yet. So I messaged her back, and man, okay, so she showed up for the first game. The first game being essentially just her sitting in on the session. She didn't have to play the first one and everything like that, because generally I want people to get a feel for my games before I have them join. So, like, what is it like to be at the table? So she came and chilled, but she showed up at the door, and I opened it and saw her. She was standing there, D&D book in hand, dice in her pocket. She was wearing a Kingdom Hearts Organization 13 hoodie. And immediately, like, just seeing her stand there, just like, Organization 13 hoodie, D&D book in hand. Her hair was done up pretty cute and everything. And then I fell in love. I would argue that there was definitely a bit of the whole love at first sight thing with it. Like, at first, all I knew really at that point, the only thing I committed to at that point was, I want to get to know this person better. I definitely want to know this person. I want to hang out with them. I want to have fun with them. I want to just chill and have a good time. If it goes further than that, that's even better. But I wanted this person in my life. So she come and she joined the game. She played for a while, and she started doing things like she started hanging out after game and chatting with me, getting to know me a little bit better. We found out that we were both playing through Mass Effect 3, which had just recently come out. So we started chatting about Mass Effect 3 and just having a really just good conversation. Great conversation about Mass Effect. And slowly by slowly, we just kind of doing that more and more, just hanging out and stuff. I'd go over to her place, she'd play video games, and I'd just hang out and chill, and vice versa. Ultimately, invited her to a pub quiz with a few friends of mine, nice social gathering where we all could get together and, not a huge bunch of pressure on her. She brought a friend of hers who was in town. I remember sitting there, like, afterwards, sitting there with my friends, just standing around after she left with her friend, and I'm just going like, am I reading too much into this, or was that just like the friend check? Like, was this just to get the okay from the friend about me? And all my friends were just kind of like, yeah, I think that's what that was. I'm not 100% sure if it ever was or not, but that's what the whole, like, it felt like to me and everything like that. So ultimately, when it came down to it, later that year, right around the 4th of July, Siri invited me over. You didn't know the friend check was a thing? Yeah, it's usually just like, I feel one way about this, but I want to make sure I'm not making a bad decision, so I'm bringing in a trusted third party to go over the situation and give a thumbs up, thumbs down type on the situation. So we hung out on the 4th of July, which for those who are international and everything like that, it's big holiday, everyone has it off work and everything. We hung out and watched, instead of doing fireworks or anything like that, we just hung out in her place and watched, like, Doctor Who and stuff. It was great. We snuggled up and we actually kind of got together that day. And that was our first official, like, we are officially dating kind of moment. It was great. I enjoyed it. We kind of just, she kind of looked at me. She's like, do you mind if I snuggle up in your arms? I'm like, I'm great with that. Yeah, absolutely. Just things got went better from there. I'm not saying like the whole thing hasn't had like its ups and downs. We're rough patches. We're both not entirely like psychologically stable individuals. We both have our assortment of mental illnesses. But you know what? We get through that. We stick with it. We got our hands on it. And then we kept playing through D&D and stuff like that. She stayed all the way through my 4th edition campaign, all the way to max level. She helped rewrite the universe, became a god, all sorts of different stuff. And it was at one of those sessions that I had written a letter to her, and then I put it in cipher. Like, I swapped together the letters, I put some clues in the corners of the paper and everything like that. I thought it was clever because it's at D&D. I put the letter in the cipher and everything, and I folded it up, and I gave it to her at the beginning of session. I'm just like, here, for you to think on. Before game had started, like minutes, she had figured out at least some parts of the cipher and figured out some of it. Especially the last line of it, which is the first thing she translated. Instead of the huge bulk of text, she got the last line, which she got right away. And she looks up to me and she goes, "Are you serious?" And I point down, she looks at it, she translated it. "Will you marry me?" And I said, "I am serious." And then she went on to translate the rest of the letter, which was very poetic and had a lot of feelings about wanting to be together and seeing the rest of our lives spend together and everything like that. I just thought it funny that she got the important part first and then like all the flowery language after. So that's how we got engaged. And then a while after that, we had a Kingdom Hearts themed wedding and went to Disney World for a week. You have a word for when you feel real giddy about two people getting together and you're feeling that right now? That's kind of cool that you have a word for that. We don't have a word for nothing here. Like, all the best words that we have are like, what about a word for like, when you feel real good about someone else getting hurt because it's not you? Oh yeah, we have a word for that. It's schadenfreude. No, the Germans have a word for that. We just took it. The word is killig? Am I saying it right? Killig? Yeah, happy to tell the story. I love that story because it's some of the happiest moments of my life right there.